afternoon, West Ham fans. It's Russ on the West Ham Network. Hope you are all safe and well. We're through to the next round of the Carabao Cup, beating the mighty Lincoln City 1-0. Obviously, not a lot of people saw the game because it wasn't on TV, and there's only about 500 people who went there from West Ham. But one of them was John Ratomski, leader of the Iron Supporting Food Bank group, and so he gave us his ratings. So for lunchtime today, we had John Ratomski's ratings. It wasn't very complimentary about a couple of players, I'll be honest. A bit harsher than me, I think, but go back and check that out. And obviously, we play Arsenal week commencing the 30th. Probably more likely to be the Wednesday. Is that the 2nd? I think of August. No, of November. But anyway, Hamilton Headlines in association with the KUMB.com boys. A few transfer rumours and about our current owner. Or our second highest owner as well, in terms of what he's going to be doing with his money at the moment, because that's quite interesting. So let's talk about January. Obviously, it's been over a month, no, about a few weeks, 4 weeks since the close of the summer transfer window, and according to XWHU employee, plans are already in place and already well underway for January, which is a stark contrast to previous January transfer windows, because we have also Mr. Tim Steidten, who apparently already has instructed. He's deployed. It's a better word. He's deployed scouts across Europe now in anticipation for January, according to XWHU employee. He's been advised that's what Tim has done, and obviously this is massively different from our usual approach, a pre-Steidten, our PS approach, where it was a little bit haphazard, let's be honest. Signing someone like Danny Ings, who never would fit in our system, randomly, that type of thing. And so, where it seemed rather rushed and rather sort of haphazard, now there definitely seems to be a system in place, which is what we've all wanted. So much so that X confirmed on his podcast that there were West Ham scouts in attendance at the Porto versus Gilvente match last week, and a number of players impressed, including the Porto striker Taremi, who, despite the fact being 31, has an excellent goal scoring record, and indeed would come on and definitely give us that extra bit of boost we need now. So he would be rather than sort of one for the future. He would be one who could potentially come in now and give us that extra dynamic sort of forward play we need, now, rather than in 3 years' time. We need it now. And obviously, just giving Antonio something to throw his toys out the pram with, really, in terms of having having someone who could take his shirt number for him. Another person who apparently impressed was the Porto left back Sanusi. Very quick, very fast, and would definitely suit our game. Obviously, with Cresswell's future, likely to leave next summer, if not in January. Obviously, he'll leave on a free transfer in the summer next year. I'll be very surprised if we offer him a new deal. So he could, go to Wolves finally, or go to someone else in January if required. He could be a player we could bring in should he depart in January. Another player who's been on the radar in terms of Porto was the winner, not Carlos Borges, but Gonzalo Borges, who was came on for the last 20 minutes. So he's a player we've already been looking at recently. So, there is this sort of, there is a planning stage happening now, which is great to hear from a fan perspective. Obviously, Holly mentioned yesterday the report about us exploring a deal for the Shakhtar Donetsk defender Mikola Matvinenko. If I've nailed that first time, I don't think I have, though. With the reports coming out that we are interested in a move for the 27-year-old Ukrainian international, with also his camper looking at a potential move to England as well. What's great about Mikola is he's a centre half, but he's a left-sided centre half, but can play left back as well. So That's great. He signed a new deal recently, and I think we were looking at him last January. I want to say other sides looking at him were Brighton, Brentford, Palace. So he's getting his. There's a share of Premier League sides looking at him. What I really like about the 59 capped Ukrainian international is he's got experience, European experience, playing in the Champions League and in Europa League for Shakhtar Donetsk. I also like the fact that he's left-sided as well, and potentially coming in, he could, with things like Angelo Bonner, again, a player who is unlikely to be here past next summer. We would then have two first choice centre halves on the left and two first choice centre halves on the right. So you'd have Mikola, you'd have Aged, and on the right you'd have Zuma and Dinos. And so, there's the opportunity to swap them in and out. There's the opportunity to play three at the back and have one spare. So there's that would be, I think, bloody good if we could get that. So, obviously with the other clubs looking at him, and the fact he signed a new deal, we wouldn't get him for a bargain move. And there may well be other options. But I think for me, he's got all the attributes that we need for that left sided. Just even if it's just to give a gad, just like a little bit of, you're not, you've got Angelo, but this is someone who could take your place. And the fact that he can play left back as well always helps, because just gives us different options as well. And he's vastly experienced, particularly in Europe. Another player we've been linked with, and maybe as a consequence of our network in terms of Brazil, Robin Newman went out 2.5 years ago, maybe a bit longer, to set up this network in terms of the several Brazilian top flight sides. We know that Tim Steidten was in Brazil during the summer to try and secure a deal for Yuri Alberto and Pedro, but obviously none came to fruition. But apparently, according to my favorite Spanish outlet, Fajitas.net, West Ham are looking very closely at the Botafogo striker forward Matias Nascimento. The forward came through the ranks of the Brazilian club's youth system, made his debut when he was 16 a few years ago. Since then, he's managed 11 goals and 4 assists in 81 games, so not the most prolific, but his recent performances have caught the attention of the European clubs, and West Ham are around one of them. As you said, he's 19 years old, and we're looking for younger talent we can develop. It's claimed that he is expected to make a switch to Europe's in the upcoming transfer windows, and his future could point towards the Premier League, where the Hammers have shown specific interest to acquire the Brazilian sort of youth international signature. He is described as a new pearl of Brazilian football, and Tim Steiden's the pearl diver, so it works perfectly. And Fajitas states that he has the potential to become a star in the future, and this has intrigued the European Conference League winners. Isn't that nice saying it like that? The Europa Conference League winners, I love that. He still doesn't run out until December 2025. Obviously, Brazilian contracts are on the annual calendar year because of how their season runs. And it doesn't mention whether West Ham are looking to bring him in January or next summer. I would imagine next summer. But again, it looks, it's great that we're being linked with these players who we don't know who they are. And that to me is exactly what Tim Steiden's about. It's about uncovering these gems, uncovering these pearls who will be developed into better players, and will have sell-on value eventually, and people and things like that. So it's encouraging, really encouraging. And finally, in terms of our second largest shareholder, he's going to be spending a bit of money apparently soon. Mr. Danny Krajinski. According to a report in the Financial Times, Danny Krajinski has entered the race entered the auction to acquire the UK Telegraph Media Group, joining bidders including the Daily Mail and General Trust. We know Danny Kaye owns 27% of West Ham, and apparently signed a non-disclosure agreement last week to join the auction process. So how do we know about it? I don't know, because surely as part of non-disclosure, you don't disclose it, so someone must have disclosed it somewhere. So the parent group, the TMG, includes the Telegraph, the Sunday Telegraph, and the Spectator magazine. He's got a bit of cash flowing about at the moment because he sold his stake in French publication Le Monde late last month. I think the French billionaire Xavier Niel paid 50 million euros to him to buy him out of his part of the investment on Le Monde. And he pretty much broke even from his investment back in 2018, which ain't bad considering, most investments have gone down. So he's pretty much broken even. So he's actually, he's kept hold of his money. Now, as I said, so he is now looking at acquiring TMG, which is quite ironic because people always say that West Ham owners do tend to have the ear of the press, and we could be owning the press, or one of them could be owning the press, or maybe give us the 50 million and we can spend on a few players. Anyway, not going to happen, is it? And that's it, my friends. A few extra stories this week, which is nice for a change. Keep an eye on the channel. We've got opposition review fans for Sheffield United. We've got starting 11s tomorrow for the Hammers headlines. We have the press conference, synopsis, and all that good stuff. So as they go back, check out the Ratomski ratings. It sounds like some sort of political thing, the Ratomski rating, but that was at lunchtime today, so check that out. And go back and check out, go and check out Anton's audio commentary, listening to the radio and audio commenting it back to people. Very impressive stuff, but that was on yesterday. So anyway, take care, stay safe, stay warm, stay humble, keep the faith, my friends. Come on, you bloody Irons, and we'll see you soon. Ta-ta.